Hello, everyone, and welcome to In 15 with Rinchin, the show where top experts share their most practical advice in 15 minutes. My name is Rinchin, and I'm going to be your host. Our guest for today is Antoni Tzavelas, and Antoni is not your regular agility coach. Antoni comes with over 20 years of experience across IT domain, be it system admin, be it DevOps, or be it cloud training. And Antoni is not just about teaching the ropes. He is all about transforming the teams, challenging the cultural status quos, and sprinkling a little bit of his agile magic to inspire positivity and learning mindsets within the team. Would you like to know what his secret sauce is? Then watch on. Hello, Antoni, and welcome to M15 with Rinchin. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So, Anthony today is going to talk about happiness at work. Anthony's recent posts on LinkedIn have been revolving a lot around happiness blueprint and how happiness impacts us as individuals and as teams within the organization. Today, we're going to dig a little deeper into relationships within the team and those dynamics and how happiness impacts it. So let's get started. Anthony, the floor is all yours.
All right. Well, when it comes to relationship in teams, we want to make sure that we're all working together collaboratively. And in order to do that, we have to have naturally relationships with other people. So in our teams, we want to be able to work with each other on a level that's above just the work itself. And so this is where I talk to people about having that relationship through doing workshops, through doing team building exercises, and those are the things that we want to really hone in on because it focuses less on the work itself and more on the people and who they are as human beings. And so when we start to have those types of conversations, as we would with anyone else, we start to learn about each other. We start to learn the things that we like, the things that we don't like, how you would talk to that person, whether or not they're an introvert or an extrovert, um, the certain types of work that they enjoy doing. So all these play a big factor in having those types of relationships.
That's interesting because a lot of people come with a preconceived notion that they already know how to deal with people and they have that singular approach, towards dealing with everyone in their team. Some people even think that it might be a bit biased if I use a different kind of approach towards different people. But like you said, there are so many personalities, so many colors within the team that you have to understand which one works the best for each of the individuals. So in your experience, what are the missing pieces that you see in teams largely where bridging the gap with happiness is very important?
Yeah. So um, where I see a big gap is when it comes to relationships, is the team is so focused on doing just work that there's nothing left. So we don't get to know each other as people. We don't really understand how we work together. We don't understand how we want to communicate together. And this is extremely important so that way we can become more productive in our work and be happier because of it. So one thing I really love to hone in on is doing doing stuff that's outside of work. So when it comes to team building exercises, are we being inclusive about everyone? So some people may have neurodiverse issues. Some people may, like I said before, are introverts. So we need to account for that and start to understand the types of people that we have on our team. As you know, every team is going to be different. And so, therefore, we have to be dynamic about how we approach relationships within the teams. Now, obviously, there's going to be people that just want to focus on work and they don't want any relationship whatsoever.
Yeah.
But we all know that higher productive teams are focused on the relationships that they have with each other. So that way, you see the highest performing teams, they don't even have to say anything to each other. They just know. And
Yeah,
it just works like clockwork.
that's true. And this whole thing about, taking into account the diversity that you have within the teams.
Mhm.
What I've seen is sometimes in my teams, especially, when there is a lot of personality in the team, sometimes the introverts get left out
Yeah.
because
Indeed.
they don't like to participate so much. So what is your secret sauce of working with introverts?
That's a great question. A lot of people ask me the same thing. Well, I try to uh, in past, I what I've done is I try to let the introverts talk ahead of the other people, so that way they have space. They have a
Yeah,
they have space to have that voice. Um, Also, working with them to be more vocal. Having specific times where they get to speak first, and even if they don't want to speak, it's listening to them, even in a chat, something as simple as that.
I
So
love that. I
yeah,
love
so
that.
having them have their voice heard will make them be more vocal, so that way they can be heard and they can be seen.
I love the fact that you said that, listening to them in the chat, because a lot of people just don't like talking in a
Mhm.
larger forum, and understanding the fact that, even through their chats and the way they are reacting to certain messages, you can pick up those cues and then take it forward from there. I think that's one of the
You're welcome. And even as coaches, we need to be aware of this.
yeah,
And it's all about asking those questions and making those people who aren't seen, making them seen.
so true, so true. Getting them to be a little more heard, more seen is very important.
Yes,
You also touched upon neurodiversity, and that is something which is, the current topic with
for sure.
everyone. People are recognizing the fact that, we have to be sensitive to different people on, be they on spectrum or having ADHD and things like that. What has been your experience around it?
I haven't had a lot of experience around it personally. I haven't been diagnosed with ADHD, but I know I do have it. Um, I'm sure there's a lot of undiagnosed people out there, but I do have a tendency to um, bring my focus somewhere else when I'm in the middle of a meeting, and so I have to be very aware of it. And so, me having to go through it myself, I also try to be aware of that with others, and reach out to them if they need help, or being open to being heard. And if somebody has a question which was clearly already answered, not to put them down for it, but to answer their question again, and to be a lot more empathetic towards that situation.
Talking about diversity and talking about the teams, introverts, you talk a lot about happiness, and I love your posts on that. What are the things that someone can do to have those glimmers of happiness during the day within their teams? So what is, I know you're, I would want to talk about that a little more, which is your Wednesday thing, but that's one of the things that I love about you and the way you approach things. It's also sort of your brand, by the
Yeah.
way. Now, so one of those things, and I want to talk about that a little further. And also, apart from that, based on your experience now, working in different roles within the organization, what do you think brings the glimmers within the team?
Well, it goes back to my happiness blueprint, and that's something that I've been working on as part of my mission to bring happiness to the workplace. And I developed a model called the impact model. And the impact model touches on different areas that we can focus on as coaches and leaders in order to help people become happier in whatever it is that they do. So, um, so the impact model stands for so I is for inspiration, which focuses on goals. So when you have goals, people become inspired when they reach them, and then we get to celebrate them, and that's even more
Yeah,
awesome, right?
it is.
So M is for mindset. That's kind of obvious. We want to get into that more positive mindset. So using more positive language, not using more negativity in the meetings, or oh, we already did this, oh, we've done this already, things never change, things like that. um, and then when it comes to P for power, we're talking about empowerment. So not power over people, but we want to empower the team members, so that way they become, you know, they take over. They know what they need to do, and they work autonomously. So um, the A in impact is for alliance, and this goes to the relationships that I was talking about.
Yeah.
So we want to be able to make sure that everyone has a relationship with each other, so that way they can work better together. Um, C stands for care, which leads more towards psychological safety. And this is, creating the space where people
Yeah.
can talk. They don't feel like they're going to get blamed, and they have the space to feel free to speak up about whatever it is that is either bothering them, or they have a great idea that they want the team to listen to. And the last one is for T is transformation. And this is all about measuring and iterating the the things that we've done in order to create positivity and happiness in our teams. So going through the impact model, we want to create positivity experiments that touch on these different areas where we can foster more happiness in teams.
That sounds wonderful. I love this, and I'm gonna use that model. I'm obviously gonna give credits to you, but I'm gonna use this model when I'm talking to the managers and leaders within our team about happiness and why is it important. I think it covers very essential topics, especially around psychological safety and empowerment. I think while we don't think of it from the happiness perspective, it definitely impacts how you feel at work. So great. That's amazing.
Yeah, and this is over years of actual, like, it hasn't been research per se, but it's been more practical. These are things that I have done. I've run positivity experiments, and I found that these actually work. This makes teams happier. And I needed to share this with the rest of the world, so that way they can become happier too in their everyday environment. Because in the end, we all want to go to work happy. We don't want to
Yeah.
dread going to work.
Yeah. Thank God it's Monday.
Exactly. We want to revel in those
Yeah,
Mondays.
absolutely. Talking about experiments, I want everyone to know about your smiling bow tie experiments for Wednesdays. I want to share it with the world here in this one.
Yes. So my original positivity experiment was Bowtie Wednesday. And this came from me working in an IT department in the basement of a building. and it was really gloomy. There wasn't a lot of light, and there was just this gloomy aura about the environment. People were not happy, and I couldn't stand to come to work this way. And so when I went to a store one night, an outlet store, I saw this bow tie that made me smile. And so I purchased it and decided that the next day, which is the Wednesday, I would wear this bow tie. And to make a long story short, the day went on and people were complimenting me about the bow tie, but they were smiling at the same time. And it brought about this amazing environment where everyone was smiling, everyone was happy, people were making jokes, and it got to a point over time where I decided that every Wednesday I would wear a bow tie to keep that momentum of happiness. And it got to a point where people were not only dressing up in bow ties, but they're dressing up, women in dresses, nice shoes, and it became a catalyst to not only happiness on Wednesdays, but it became a catalyst to happiness for the rest of the week.
I usually have the words at the end of it because when I think of happiness and I think of people in that space, I always imagine you in that bow tie. And I've seen pictures of you with that on LinkedIn, and it always makes me smile. So
There
thank
you
you for
go.
sharing that.
You're welcome.
I know we have just a couple of more minutes. I wanted to ask you one question
Sure.
towards the end of it. So, a lot of new managers struggle with the team dynamics and bringing happiness at work. So, if you had one tip to share with new managers, especially who have not been in that role before, on how to bring that glimmer of happiness within the team or burst of energy, could you share one advice from your end?
Yeah, one great tip that I love to leave with people, and this is some really low hanging fruit. And since we're all in an environment where it's virtual usually, I always just tell people, turn on your camera, show up with a smile and a positive attitude for every single meeting, and you will be surprised at what happens. People start trusting you.
Yeah.
People start to see your commitment for bringing positivity and happiness to their environment. Because of that, they change as well, because you're showing up differently, and therefore other people will show up differently as well. Now, you know, the level of how positive you show up can vary, per person, because you don't want to fake it,
Yeah.
but you do want to show that you are there for the team, and that's the best way to do it. So I wouldn't go out of your way to to really push that happiness into what I would call a toxic
Yeah.
positivity type environment, but
Yeah.
you want to do show that you're there to you're there to make change. You're there to help them get on with what it is that they love to do.
Awesome. Here's and cheers to positivity in teams, always showing up smiling on your cameras. And that's a great advice for all the new managers out there. Try it out. I'm sure it's going to work because Antony says it's going to work. On
Results
that
may
note,
vary.
sorry.
Results may vary.
Results may vary, but I'm sure it's going to be more on the positive side, not too toxic.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think it's actually again based on an experiment because I read it somewhere that if you're feeling gloomy and you just smile, like just pose, like just smile to yourself for like 3 or 4 minutes, it actually changes your whole attitude and your demeanor, and you actually start feeling positive. So I think that does have a scientific background to it. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, if I could share something on a personal note, because in the end, we all have to start with ourselves, and
Yeah.
so when we show up, to show up as our best selves, I always love to share something that I like to do, and this is through the research of positive psychology, and that is after 21 days of you writing down three things that you're grateful for every single day, you will become happier because of it.
Mm.
So
Gratitude journaling.
yeah. So when
Yeah.
you write three things every single day, what you're
Yeah.
grateful for. It could be something as simple as I had a great Caesar salad for lunch.
Yeah.
Something as simple as that.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be profound, but
Yeah.
when you show that gratitude towards yourself, then you show that gratitude outwardly towards others. And so that really helps me, and that might help others being able to show up as the best version of themselves.
I'm going to add to my journaling from today. I'm going to commit to 21 days. Here I'm committing to 21 days of three things that I'm grateful for every day in my journaling.
That's awesome,
And
Rinjan.
yes, and I'm going to report back to Anthony after 21 days how I feel about it.
I can't wait to hear the results.
Yay! Me neither. I'm very excited about that. So this was great. Thank you so much, Anthony, for joining us in 15 with Rinchin. I enjoyed our conversation. A lot of great takeaways for everyone, especially the new managers out there. And thank you so much for sharing your time with
Thank,
me today. I
thank
really
you so
enjoyed
much.
it.
Appreciate you having me.
Thanks, Anthony.